By a show of hands, how many of you have ever experienced a disaster before? And for those of you who have, what's the word that you always read about in the newspapers and they talk about in the aftermath of a disaster? Recovery, right? We're going to recover your community. We're going to recover the government, whether you want to or not. And we're going to recover your business. And that becomes the ubiquitous term after a disaster. And you know what? I hate that word. So today I am challenging you as business leaders to reject that term entirely. I want you to discard it. And instead, I want you to embrace a term called reversing disaster. Because what does recovery really mean anyway? Let's imagine your business success is here. And down here is your bottom line and your workforce and everything you've built up that makes your business a success that it is. And then when disaster strikes, the assumption on recovery is that your business is going to start to crumble like this. And maybe, just maybe, your business is going to claw its way back up to recovery. Or maybe it doesn't. And the hope is that it eventually gets it right back to here. And reversing disaster says, when disaster strikes, when that moment occurs, when you realize the air is thick with ash and smoke, I want you to see it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to strengthen your business. I want you to see it as an opportunity to increase your success. I want you to reverse that trend and see it as a chance to make your business better than it ever was before. I remember my very first day as an emergency manager in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I was coming into the office and I was applying a youthful zeal to disaster management. I was like the Julia Child of disasters. And I came into my work at the very first day and my boss said, "Patrick, I'm going to give you this disaster plan and I want you to tell me what's wrong with it." I said, "No problem, I can do that." So I flipped open the disaster plan, blew off the dust, and I flipped it all the way to the back, and I revealed a page called the Emergency Contacts page. This is the page where you have all the phone numbers of your critical employees. These are the people you will be relying on when you begin to reverse disaster. So I tore that page out, and I dialed every single person on that list. There were 14 people on the list. 10 of the 14 people no longer worked at that company. The other 4 people were dead. That disaster plan had not been even reviewed in 15 years. And that wasn't good. And as an emergency manager, it is absolutely not a good idea to have to look at a disaster plan and say, "I see dead people." You can tell at that point your disaster plan is kind of gone. And I would like to have everybody please stand up, because you're going to see the results of that statistical study after all those years. For all of you who have a blue card, please have a seat. All those people that just sat down represent all the businesses that never reopened after the disaster. Not one day. They were never reopened. Now, for those of you who have a red card, you may now have a seat. You represent all the businesses that went out of business in 3 years. For those of you who have a yellow card, these represent the 6% of businesses that were still in business at the end of the study.